After years of supporting my in-laws financially, I finally found out why they hated me, and it led. It was a moment that caught me completely off guard and brought to the surface emotions I didn't even know I had. Adding to that, they weren't particularly fond of me when Tom and I got married, so I avoided complicating things by disclosing the true dynamics of our marriage, him managing the household while I was the breadwinner. Despite the awkwardness I felt around Tom's parents, I chose to tolerate it since I didn't want to be responsible for any rift between them and Tom. He was grateful for my patience, often expressing his appreciation for my understanding and effort to maintain harmony. I empathized with them, having lost my mother to cancer a few years before meeting Tom. The shared experience of illness and loss allowed me to connect with their struggles on a deeper level. I even tried to support them financially whenever possible. They both retired, and with their limited income, they occasionally reached out to Tom for help with certain expenses. Since Tom didn't have the means to support them fully, I would step in and write a check. To keep things uncomplicated and avoid any potential embarrassment for Tom, the checks were always from both of us to avoid raising suspicions about Tom's employment status. Over the past 8 years, every significant event, holiday, or luxurious experience they had was funded by me. Although they believed it was a joint effort between Tom and me, I felt that I deserved some acknowledgement, but it never came, and I quietly harbored that disappointment. Tom, my husband, 36, and I, 34, have enjoyed a strong relationship for 12 years, 9 of which we've been married. Ours is a partnership built on mutual respect and understanding, with both of us valuing open communication and shared decision-making. While we generally see eye to eye on most matters, the one stumbling block has always been his parents. I never understood why they disliked me until a recent revelation at their celebration, which was supposed to be a joyous occasion. To provide some background, Tom is a house husband. A year into our marriage, we noticed my income significantly outpaced his since I was climbing the ranks at my dad's electrical appliance company, preparing to take over upon his retirement. Tom expressed a desire to manage household duties, feeling unfulfilled and unhappy in his job, which was not providing him with the satisfaction he hoped for. After many heartfelt discussions and weighing the pros and cons, we decided it was the right path for both of us. Although it was a significant life choice, we agreed it was for the best. We've held this arrangement for 8 years now, during which our bond grew stronger. 6 years ago, I took over as CEO when my father retired, a role I had prepared for diligently. My career success means we live comfortably, and both Tom and I are content with our roles. Surprisingly, my in-laws assumed Tom was the primary earner, leading to their disdain for me, which I found quite perplexing. We never actually shared our situation with them, mainly because Tom's parents are quite traditional in their views. Tom was certain that if they found out he was a stay-at-home husband and not employed outside the home, they'd be completely shocked and possibly even judgmental. He preferred not to deal with the complications of revealing the truth, so we kept it to ourselves. For the past 8 years, they've been unaware that he's not working in the conventional sense. Whenever we visited, we pretended he was still with his former company, keeping the conversations vague and shifting topics quickly, since we didn't think it was crucial to discuss. This helped us avoid awkward moments and unnecessary discussions, which suited us just fine. However, at the anniversary party, an offhand comment from a family member inadvertently hinted at our actual situation. It led to a cascade of questions and ultimately a heated discussion. In that moment, the air was filled with tension, but it also opened the door for honesty and hopefully some understanding going forward. Some might wonder why I maintain contact despite their clear disapproval of me. Even Tom has apologized numerous times for the situation, expressing his regrets over his parents' chilly demeanor. However, cutting them off completely wasn't an option. Tom's mother, Camila, is a cancer survivor, having bravely battled both skin and brain cancer over the last 8 years. Now in remission, she's endured countless treatments and hospital visits, showcasing a resilience that is truly admirable. We couldn't bear to sever ties with someone who had faced such adversity. Her journey has not only been inspirational, but also a reminder of the strength and courage one can possess in the face of life's most daunting challenges. When we arrived at the party, Tom's parents acted strangely, which I didn't understand until their speech. It turned out they were upset about my recent purchase, a luxury car. A few weeks earlier, I'd bought a new car, whereas Tom still drove his old one since he didn't go out much. If we needed to go anywhere together, we used my car. On the day of the party, he visited his parents in the afternoon, and I joined after work, which meant we arrived in separate vehicles. This seemed to irritate them. If that wasn't enough, Tom's father, Tom, has experienced 2 heart attacks in the past 4 years. His health scares have taken a toll on the family, creating a sense of urgency and vulnerability that we couldn't ignore. Thus, you can understand why distancing ourselves from them was not feasible, despite their peculiar behavior towards me. They weren't overtly rude, but there was a palpable coldness whenever I was around, a sentiment everyone could sense. This coldness was present from my first meeting with them while dating Tom, and it intensified after our marriage as if they were holding on to some unspoken disapproval. It was like a shadow lurking over family gatherings, a silent and unyielding presence that underscored every interaction. Despite these challenges, Tom and I have remained steadfast in our commitment to each other, navigating the complexities of family dynamics with patience and empathy. While my relationship with his parents may never be warm, I hope that with time and understanding, we can at least reach a level of mutual respect. Until then, we continue to support each other and cherish the strong bond we share, regardless of the hurdles that come our way. Recently, I meticulously organized an elaborate anniversary party for them, celebrating their remarkable 40 years of marriage, a milestone that truly warranted a grand gesture. It was a beautifully planned event, complete with a stunning venue, carefully curated music, and a menu that boasted their favorite dishes. Although they were under the impression that both Tom and I had planned it, I anticipated some gratitude for my substantial role in the countless hours I spent coordinating every intricate detail of the event. I acknowledge that not being upfront about our financial situation might have been a misstep on my part, but I doubted it would have altered their perception. They would likely have found another reason to dislike me, as their disdain seemed deeply rooted. Over the past 8 years, every time we extended financial assistance, it was evident that I was equally involved in supporting them. Yet gratitude was never forthcoming. Their appreciation was as sparse as the words of encouragement they offered. We chose to hide the truth for our peace of mind because their dislike for me existed long before we started concealing things. However, during the evening, as guests mingled and celebrated, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. They delivered a speech that took an unexpected and unpleasant turn, casting a shadow over the celebration with their discontent. As they spoke, their words left me stunned and deeply hurt. Realizing then that there was little hope of mending our fractured relationship, the evening concluded with uncomfortable tension hanging heavy in the air, and I knew it was time to confront some truths that had long needed expression. It was a turning point, pushing me to face the reality of our strained connection and the toll it had taken on my peace of mind. During their anniversary speech, they began by proudly highlighting their 40-year milestone, a testament to decades of shared life and accomplishments filled with love and resilience. However, the tone shifted dramatically when they began addressing a long-standing grievance that took everyone by surprise. They accused me of taking advantage of their son for years, a claim that completely caught me off guard and sent a ripple of whispers through the room. Upon returning home, I felt an unexpected sense of relief. We had been silently bearing those secrets for 8 years, and with the truth revealed, we no longer had to carry the burden of hiding it. However, the following day, Tom received a call from his parents. Instead of offering an apology or even an attempt at reconciliation, they expressed their disapproval of the events that had unfolded at the gathering. They accused us of deceit for keeping the truth from them for so long. They went even further, stating that my speech had unfairly embarrassed them and cast them in a poor light as parents. They revealed that they had harbored this sentiment for years but had never voiced it, hoping I would change on my own accord. Yet nearly a decade had passed and my lifestyle and priorities remained steadfast. Their frustration boiled over when they criticized my recent car purchase, insinuating I had used my husband's money, especially when their son still drove an older model that, while well-loved, was certainly not flashy. They also commented on how modestly their son dressed, starkly contrasting with my penchant for designer outfits. This led them to label me a gold digger, accusing me of flaunting a dependence on my husband that simply didn't exist. After enduring that public accusation, I could no longer stay quiet. It was one thing for them to be cold or distant, but to publicly humiliate me crossed a boundary I couldn't ignore. Gathering my composure, I decided to address the gathering despite their attempts to silence me. I insisted on the importance of sharing my side of the story, and I was determined not to back down. With measured words, I explained that Tom, my husband, hadn't worked in 8 years because he didn't need to. I was the family's provider, Contrary to their assumptions, I financed everything from our home to our vacations. Tom's modest appearance and choice of car were his own decisions, reflecting his understated personality. I made it clear that I wasn't depriving him or belittling him as they had tried to suggest. Instead, I supported his choices and respected his preferences, allowing him the freedom to be himself without judgment. Since that day, Tom's parents have been a constant nuisance, convinced we embarrass them in front of their friends and family. Yet Tom stood firm by my decision to speak up, recognizing that the truth needed to be aired eventually. He understood that living under the weight of false perceptions was no longer sustainable, and together we chose to embrace our truth, regardless of the consequences it brought. Now that everything was out in the open, I saw no reason to stay and endure their verbal attacks any longer. Tom and I decided to leave, walking out with a newfound sense of liberation. As we exited, we noticed the shock etched on everyone's faces. It seemed like they couldn't believe what was unfolding, as the truth shattered long-held assumptions and left an indelible mark on the evening. To clarify, I don't think I portrayed them in any particular way. I simply reflected the reality they had created through their actions and choices. While I can see how lying to them was wrong, what alternative did we have under the circumstances? If we hadn't kept certain things from them, they likely would have made our lives much more difficult, constantly pestering us about our living situation and pressuring Tom to find a job he wasn't ready for. Due to their ongoing health issues, cutting them off entirely wasn't a viable option, and we would have been overwhelmed with guilt if we had resorted to such measures. Thus, I still find the deception somewhat justifiable since they seem to have disliked me from the very beginning, despite my significant contributions to their financial well-being and family dynamics. Every check we sent had both my and Tom's names on it, symbolizing our joint effort to support them. Now, I'm left feeling uneasy and guilty. Am I wrong for having lied to my in-laws about my husband's employment and for revealing the truth during their anniversary celebration? When Tom bravely confronted them about their unexplained animosity towards me, they couldn't provide a clear or rational answer. Instead, they deflected, accusing us of deceit and claiming that my speech at their anniversary had turned everyone against them. But Tom, firm and determined, pushed for a genuine explanation about their disdain for me, as we needed to understand the root of this tension. They were well aware of my significant role in organizing the anniversary party, coordinating meticulously with vendors, and managing everything down to the smallest detail. They believed we were sharing the expenses and knew I was deeply involved in the preparations, dedicating countless hours to ensure it was perfect. Yet that wasn't sufficient for them, and their appreciation was non-existent. Despite all my earnest efforts for his family, his parents continued to harbor an inexplicable hatred towards me. Even as Tom expressed all these sentiments on the call, I could hear his mother shouting on the other end of the line, her voice so loud and filled with anger that it carried clearly across the room. She accused us of gaslighting them for years, vowing never to forgive us, and expressed utter disgust towards both of us, claiming my speech had alienated everyone in their lives without justification. Then, with a dramatic flourish, she abruptly ended the call, leaving us in a state of shock and confusion. Since then, they've been relentlessly messaging Tom, insisting on repaying any money they perceive as owed to us because they refuse to accept any perceived favors from me. They are inexplicably determined to reimburse everything I contributed, even if it means selling all they own and causing further strain on themselves. They seem fine accepting help from their son, but not from me, labeling me a liar with steadfast conviction. Their stance has only deepened the rift, leaving us wondering if reconciliation is even possible. A week has passed since the party, and Tom and I have had some time to reflect on the situation. We concluded that the best course of action was to block my in-laws on all platforms and move forward with our lives, leaving the negativity behind. It's become evident that no amount of reasoning or communication will alter their deeply entrenched stance. They seem determined to find reasons to dislike me, and that's where things currently stand. Right after the call, I checked our security cameras, and sure enough, they were at our doorstep, ringing the bell persistently for about 15 minutes before deciding on a different approach. They ended up smashing our living room's glass bay window using bricks they apparently brought along. It was an outrageous move, and I made a note to pursue a legal route for damages later, as this was a costly installation. For as long as I can remember, they never truly liked me. Sure, we probably shouldn't have kept up the charade of deception for so long, as it understandably made them feel deeply betrayed. However, I sincerely doubt that being upfront from the very beginning would have fundamentally changed their opinion of me. Until recently, we maintained contact with them primarily because I felt compassion for their numerous health issues and didn't want to completely separate them from their son. However, Tom has now reached his breaking point with their behavior. Since the party, he's been apologizing to me daily, feeling as if the whole situation is entirely his fault. I've made it a point to reassure him that he's not responsible for his parents' actions or their choices. Interestingly, several of his family members have reached out to us to express their support, acknowledging that my in-laws' behavior at the party was unacceptable. As a result, many have chosen to distance themselves from Jake and Camila. I don't take any pleasure in this fact. After all, they're just a lonely elderly couple who seem to be lost in their own world. While I won't actively encourage this distancing, I'm also not going to discourage it. It's ultimately up to each person to decide whether they want to maintain a relationship or cut ties. All of this has left me feeling quite stressed, and I'm eager to move on from the drama. Tom and I have decided to plan a short getaway this weekend to clear our minds and find some peace. If there's one positive outcome from all this turmoil, it's the opportunity for us to escape and spend some quality time together, allowing us to process everything that's happened over the past week. Update 2. Just the other day, after much deliberation, Tom and I made the difficult decision to completely sever all ties with Jake and Camila. We went through the process of blocking them on every conceivable platform, ensuring they couldn't reach us or continue their toxic behavior. Yesterday, we set off early in the morning for a brief getaway to the beach, hoping to relax and recharge. However, during our trip, I received an unexpected call from our alarm company. They reported a break-in attempt at our home that triggered the security system. My gut instinct immediately told me that it had to be Jake and Camila, unable to accept the boundaries we've set. This unsettling development has added another layer of stress to an already challenging situation, but we're determined to handle it together and remain strong in the face of adversity. It was quite audacious of them, considering their advanced age. When I reviewed the security footage, it was unmistakably clear that they were still inside the premises when the alarm went off. Without hesitation, I immediately contacted the police and also alerted my neighbor, who's not just a neighbor but a close friend and confidant. Within a swift 30 minutes, law enforcement arrived and swiftly escorted them off our property. Now, the decision lies with the district attorney to determine whether charges will be pursued. Given their age, they might try to evade consequences by feigning confusion or misunderstanding, but their actions have left me deeply disturbed and unsettled. Unfortunately, recovering the rest of the money might be tricky without a formal contract or document. Still, we're determined not to overlook this incident without at least receiving compensation for the damages. I plan to keep emailing them, hoping they'll eventually agree to pay up, or at least until one of us gives up, and I'm aiming for that to be them. Honestly, I don't desperately need the money, but after enduring such humiliation, I can't just walk away from this. For the time being, my neighbor kindly assisted me in arranging a temporary glass replacement. Although it's not nearly as sturdy or visually appealing as the original, we'll need to plan for an upgrade once we're back home. Rest assured, I have every intention of holding Jake and Camila accountable for all the expenses they've caused. Their behavior throughout this ordeal has been nothing short of infuriating. Despite this unwelcome drama, Tom and I remain steadfast in our commitment to enjoy our much-anticipated weekend getaway at the beach. We refuse to let their antics ruin our time together in the sun and sand. We'll address all remaining issues once we're back in the city and can focus on resolving them. Update 3. As I had anticipated, the district attorney decided to drop the charges against them, citing their age as the primary reason. Tom mentioned that his father has connections with someone linked to the DA's office, suggesting that this might have influenced the decision, though it feels quite unjust and unfair. However, I've chosen not to pursue the matter further as it doesn't seem worthwhile or productive at this stage. After conducting a thorough inspection of the house, we found that nothing had been taken or damaged, which leaves me puzzled and questioning what their true intentions were when they entered the property. Nonetheless, I'm still planning to send them a formal legal notice to recover the cost of replacing the glass door. I've already sent an email firmly insisting they reimburse the money they owe, especially after having made such bold monetary demands themselves in the past. Previously, they were adamant about knowing precisely what they owed me, refusing to accept even a single dollar more than necessary. Now, it's their turn to repay the nearly $80,000 that has accumulated over 9 years of financial support. After the break-in incident, any semblance of pity or sympathy I might have felt for them has completely vanished. Even Tom is in agreement that pursuing this course of action is the right decision, albeit a little delayed. I've always tried to be generous and understanding, but some people simply don't merit such kindness. My lawyer has confirmed, based on the clear footage, that they were indeed responsible for the damage to the glass door, so they will undoubtedly have to cover its full replacement cost. Update 4. Hey everyone! A couple of weeks back, we sent a formal legal notice to my in-laws requesting payment for the glass door they damaged at our house. Surprisingly, the process was more straightforward than we anticipated. Within just 2 weeks, we managed to reach an agreement and they paid us the full amount without much hassle. But honestly, the hardest part wasn't the settlement itself. It was dealing with them face-to-face, especially during the tense meeting with our lawyers. We maintained a civil demeanor, ensuring they couldn't act out during the proceedings. But once we were outside in the parking lot, things took an unexpected turn. I assumed they wouldn't want to interact with us anymore and was just about to head home. Tom and I had driven there in my new car, which predictably became another point of contention for them. Camila approached me, with Jake standing ominously behind her, spat on the ground near my feet, and warned me to leave before I'd regret it. Her words caught me off guard. She accused me of embarrassing them at their party, claiming that now no one wanted to associate with them and that it was all my fault. When Tom stepped in, calmly telling her that her behavior was unacceptable, she retorted, saying he was just as awful as I was and called him a broke loser with no right to speak. Out of nowhere, and to our absolute shock, Jake climbed onto the hood of my car and forcefully punched the windshield, injuring himself and causing a significant crack in the glass. Camila, with a smug expression, mentioned that they would also send money for that repair along with what they already owed us. Tom and I were completely stunned, unsure of how to react to the chaos unfolding before us. We considered involving the police, but given past experiences, they would likely escape with just another warning. We decided it wasn't worth the hassle since we would eventually be reimbursed for the damages. Ultimately, all we really want is to move on from this tumultuous chapter. We don't care if they face legal repercussions or not, because from now on, they're on their own. And I believe that's consequence enough for them. We're done involving the law and just aim to close this chapter for good. It's been quite the roller coaster journey, but now we're committed to leading a calm and peaceful life without Jake and Camila in the picture. Previously, I thought it would be important to keep them in the family loop, but my perspective has changed significantly. Tom has taken the time to fill in most of his relatives about the events that transpired, explaining that if Jake and Camila are invited to any family gatherings, we won't be attending. The majority have been supportive, expressing their desire to distance themselves from Jake and Camila after learning about what happened. We've set our boundaries, and they're here to stay, allowing us to focus on our well-being and happiness. Update 5. Hi, everyone. It's been almost a year since my last update, and I have some exciting news to share with you all. Yesterday was a particularly special day as we celebrated something monumental in our lives. We received this wonderful news a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't wait to throw a party to celebrate and announce it to our friends and family. Although this pregnancy wasn't exactly planned and I'm now nearing my late 30s, it feels absolutely right and we are over the moon with joy. However, the day took an unexpected turn. Much to my surprise, Camila and Jake, with whom I hadn't had any contact for almost a year, showed up unannounced at the celebration. They arrived nearly an hour before the festivities were even scheduled to begin, which caught us completely off guard. Camila expressed her desire to reconcile because she was going to be a grandmother now. In that moment, I did what I had wanted to do from the very beginning. I asked her to leave just as she had done to me a year ago, and I closed the door firmly behind them. When they persisted and kept ringing the bell, I reopened the door and firmly warned them that I would involve the authorities if they didn't leave immediately, and I truly meant it this time. They continued to insist on speaking with Tom, but he came out and rather sarcastically remarked that he was not worthy of talking to them since he wasn't a financial contributor and felt like a failure. That seemed to be the final straw for them, and they eventually left. I felt an immense sense of relief at finally having the opportunity to seek a restraining order against them. With a baby on the way, my primary focus is on eliminating any potential risks from our lives. I am resolute in my decision to keep them out of my life for good, ensuring a safe and peaceful environment for our growing family.